So now we are ready to start applying typefaces, and the easiest way to do that is to again use the developer tools. So let's go ahead and open up that in Chrome and get my styles up here. Oh no, not here. Guess I have them open side by side. Okay, and this does make sense because this is most of what you use. You don't, at least what we're doing right now, we're not going to be using the HTML very much. So get your windows the way that you want to use them. And you can do that with the dock side here, or making it off to a separate window is sometimes useful too. Okay, so we're just going to go down from the top, looking at what we need to get to change things. So make sure your window is big enough so that you can see these without being minimized. So up here, when we hover over something, if it tells us the font, that's what we're trying to change, but it's not always in that class. So let's try with this one. We'll just click on it, and that's using this tool right here. And that brings our window here differently. And we can, each time we do this, we're going to be looking for the rule that has the font family declaration in it. So here's our first one. And each time we're going to do it this way by copying the whole block. Make sure you get the selectors here and the left curly bracket all the way down to the right curly bracket. So we copy that and go to our styles, and either way, I guess I'll just put them underneath here, paste it in, and then we take the existing font family and replace it with what we are going to do. So this, for the vast majority, I'm going to use the Rocket and save the weird palette one just for the special titles. So select over the old style and put in the new one. And each time we do this, we want to save it and make sure that this one is also saved, the HTML one, and then refresh our page, and we can see the difference there. So when I did that, it changed size, and we can see the old and the new because it's the last thing I had selected. So my new one is in my custom named Babcock Styles line 10. The old one's on the old style sheet line 11,000. So you can see that it crosses out, or like comments out, the old one and puts the new one in. And the font size, even though it looks the same, 0.95, it does feel quite a bit smaller than the old one. So we may want to change that, make it larger. And we can do that here in Chrome to preview it. So with REM units, they get big really quick. So from 0.95 to 1.95, you can see it's giant. 1.25 is going to be more reasonable. So previewing that, knowing that it works here, we can go back to our style sheet and manually change it here. This is where we make the change happen. So that's going to give us this style at a size that we like. Okay, the default font weight here is operating. I'll wait till we get a few more down to show you how to change that. So down here, I'm going to skip to this one, our main heading. This template's kind of reversed as a subheading on top of the main heading. So clicking on that, it's not in this first style, it's in the second one here. So copy that whole thing and bring that new line down here. So on this one, I'm going to use the special cursive one. Make sure when you're pasting this in, you don't overrun your ending curly bracket. And you may want to return and backspace delete to get it back in line. So font family, palette mosaic, and there we go. And it's still doing the red that I had counteracted. And let's go back to the subheading. Copy its rule. So it's kind of nice if you can keep your new styles in order of what you'd expect to see from the top of the page, so if we need to change anything later, we can easily find it. And again, each time, go through the trouble of saving and refreshing so we can see what's going on. All right, that one also went down quite a bit in size. I'm just kind of waiting to see if I can find something that has a font weight on it. And let's do the button. So it's actually hiding in the button XL class. This is the one that has the weight in it. And for this, I want Rocket. Okay. So I decided I don't want this to be the bold that it is. So if we look here, well, let's look here. Either way, it's going to be the same. Font weight 700. So that's our bold. If we go back to Google Fonts and look at the bold, where are we? Keep scrolling up, but it's going down. It's up here. Why does it not want me to scroll to the top? Oh, I was leaning on my space bar. Okay, so here's our 700 weight. So instead of calling it bold, it just uses the numbers. If I wanted something even thicker, like the 900 weight, I didn't do that. I didn't pre-plan that. Okay, so that's a little bit of a problem, but not. I mean, I could go through the Google Fonts thing again, but if I want to add that extra bold possibility, I would have to manually do that or copy it from Google. So let's look at the manual way. So it's put into our document here through our head in the HTML file, and here, as I mentioned, are our weights. So it shows at 100 semicolon, 400 semicolon, 700. No semicolon at the end, and it goes to a different attribute and value here with the ampersand and then display. So to get that 900 weight in here without going back to Google Fonts, we can just put in a semicolon and type 900, save this file, and then go back to our style sheet and change the font weight manually to 900 weight. And save that, back to our page. So we're looking at here, this stuff, and there. Now it's a super bold, the black weight. I don't like that either. I think I actually want it to be a thin weight, and we could preview that here. We are font weight. So the thin weight I have is the 100 weight. And here we can see it showing us the numbers. So that looks good. I like the thin weight on the button, but it's a bit small. So I could change the size here. I'm going to try to keep this at the REMs. And let's see, going from 1.125, these are really big units. I have to click around quite a bit to get the highlighting to work here. So 1.5, I think that would work. So it doesn't seem like I went up very many units, but it's quite a bit bigger. I like that. Actually, I'd want to bring down the padding as well, because that made the whole thing quite big. So maybe here, click around a bit until it lets me edit this. 125 and 2.25, 2.125, 1.25, and maybe just 1. Okay, so that's getting it down to size. So doing the change here, I can see it work, but I'm going to have to redo that in the actual CSS file. So 1 and 1.25 is going to work. So make sure you actually make the change in your CSS file and save it and then refresh, and then that's Oh, I forgot to do the weight in the actual file. There we go. Okay. The other kind of funny thing is the italics. So my typeface does not have an italic version. It just, you know, shows these regular ones. Maybe it just shouldn't have one. Let's just say it shouldn't have one. So the italicization that it's doing is an artificial one. That's not really what the typeface does. So if I want to change that, look here, we have the font style italic. So it's a web version italicization. It's not a typeface version italicization. If we don't want that, we can change it to, I mean, if we just turn this off, it would comment it, right? But then that turns back on the old one in the master style sheet. So we have to leave the font style declaration in, but counteract it by changing it to normal. And that turns off the italicization. So in exchange for not having it italicized, if we want it to look special, maybe we could just change the weight of it, like to the thin weight. That would be one way to do it. So balancing what variances we have in the typeface. So there's not a font weight declaration here, but I can borrow it from another one and copy and paste it. So let's try that. In the subheading, go to change that to normal and take the font weight just so we don't have to type it. And I'll put it right in here, font weight 100. And I may want to bring the size up as well. So let's just try 1.75. So that gives us bigger type at a lighter weight and non-italicized. Let's pretend we like that. I think I actually want it bigger. Let's just go for 2. There we go. I'm not liking the color. I'll just change this back so I can see it. There we go. Okay, so that's the basics of how to do the type. The rest of the type in the document, I think I'll do a separate recording just showing you all the different spots to hit to get the different type things. But in principle, that's what you're doing, is changing the typeface, finding it in developer tools, changing the weight, I haven't changed color really. That would be a separate place, but just getting the right typefaces in. Okay.